Again, we're going to go through all 16 competitors one by one and reveal it just like March Madness does. But DG, let's start on the Kota Capper side of the bracket. We got the money line region. So without further ado, the number one overall seed in the Kota Capper side of the bracket, Dallas Pritchard plus 13.19 units. So for those of you that don't know, Dallas is a diehard Kansas City Chiefs fan who came on the scene last year. You know, he was challenged. He challenged all the Kota Cappers in the Kota Capper monthly contest. And there was a week-long suspension in there because he liked a premium tweet or whatever, but he will be the first one to say that was bad. He still finished second that month. So he came on the scene. He's been very active with the Kota Cappers. And we were excited to have him on the show. He lit it up. He finished 4-1-1 plus 13.19 units. So he absolutely lit it up. Number one overall seed, Dallas Pritchard. DG, what are your thoughts?
Dallas is not only an enigma, but he's a wild card. You just don't know what you're going to get out of the guy. He has wild takes on Twitter. He's been extremely cold. He's been extremely hot. He's kind of not a Stephen A. Smith, but he'll give you a show. It might not be factually accurate or he might be wrong on his takes, but he'll give you a show. And I think that's what he's going to do in this contest. He's not going to go down without a fight. So I expect him to have a lot of plays. He might get creative and, mix it up, maybe throw some parlays in. I don't know what he's going to do, but he will provide some entertainment for sure. And on Twitter, I bet he'll be electric on Twitter as well.
Oh, he's going to be crazy on Twitter. I'm really excited to see his reaction to all this. And you never know what he is going to bet. Like I said, he came on, he guaranteed he'd light it up. He guaranteed to be easy money being the number one seed. And in the Kota Cappers, who, no offense to the non-Kota Cappers, but the Kota Cappers do this on the daily and stuff like that. To be number one there, that's pretty dang impressive.
Yeah. No, the Kota Cappers are looking at lines every day. I mean, we have a group chat. We're talking lines every day. And just a little more familiar, maybe a little better at spotting value. And you've been through the ups and downs. You know what you got to do in a drought. You know what it's like to be on a hot streak. Whereas some of the non-Kota Cappers aren't as consistent with it. They understand the basics of gambling, but maybe not as seasoned or as experienced. But it's really anyone's contest. I do think the Kota Cappers have an edge, but guess what? They have to face all Kota Cappers. So that's not easy to get out of that bracket.
Yep, absolutely. Well, who is Dallas going to be taking on? He's taking on the 8 seed, Jake Hazen, who finished plus 1.01 units. For those of you that don't know, Jake came to the network this year with a big following on social media. I think out of all the cappers, he has the most followers on Twitter. And he's also, he was very big on TikTok. He took over the Kota Cappers TikTok page for a while there. I think he stopped doing that now, but that's what he came on for. But he's made a massive impact on the network. He hosts Twitter spaces all the time. He's very involved in the gambling community. And when he was on the show, he finished with a 3-3 record. He finished plus 1.01 units. So Jake is, we're excited to have him in the contest, and we'll kind of see what happens here, though. Like I said, he came on as our TikTok guru, our Twitter space guru, but now he's just starting to make his way back into the podcasting a little bit. He's in a podcast with VSC about contrarian college football lines. So we'll just kind of see. But DJ, what are your thoughts about Jake and this matchup we got here?
I think Jake approaches gambling a little different than everybody else. He's very seasoned, very experienced, kind of like a veteran team almost. Not like those Kentucky or Duke teams that are usually super young. He's more of a, well-experienced team. And I think he approaches bets in a different way, with a little contrarian view, as well as just he digs into the numbers. I remember when we had him on for baseball, he was getting into numbers. I didn't even know what the advanced stats were, and he was getting into them. So he really dives into it. He takes it seriously. As an 8 seed, I think he's dangerous. He's probably one of the most dangerous, lower seeds at the 8. If he gets hot, I don't know who's going to stop him.
Yeah, absolutely. This is going to be a very intriguing matchup. This is one of the more intriguing matchups. But yeah, I'm excited to see what happens here. And I'm happy he's a part of the network. He does bring a lot of value to the network, a big time social media following, very well known in the gambling community. So we'll see how he does against old Dallas here in the first round. But let's move on, DJ. The 4 seed, Josh Campbell. Josh finished plus 4.80 units. So Josh is one of the OG Kota cappers. He came on a little after me and DJ, but he came on because he was our very first guest on Gambling Feud. Very first episode, it was just me and DJ, but he came on the second episode and started this guest picker contest we got going on. You know, he was a very dear friend of DJ's in college. And even over the 2 years I've known him, I've become very, very close with him. So I'm very, very excited to have gotten to know him. And I'm excited he's in this contest on the show. Like I said, he was the very first guest last year. He was the very first guest this year. He finished plus 4.80 units. So DJ, 4C Josh Campbell, what are your thoughts?
Josh is an out-of-the-box thinker, similar to Jake Hazen, but not as an analytical way. He's more of a vibes and feels guy. And when this guy gets hot, you know, the world is his oyster. He's a good vibes guy too. Like, he's just always having fun and goofing around. He'll be electric on Twitter. And, you know, he's 1-0 in hockey. People don't talk about that, but he's 1-0 in hockey this season. He's undefeated in hockey. But, you know, if anyone could make a run, it's got to be this guy. He's just this guy could either go all of the units positive or all of the units negative. He's a very up and down roller coaster type of guy, and he's going to be electric on Twitter. He's going to be in VFC's face, or he's going to be in the next person. Spoiler alert. Yeah, he's going to be in this guy's face. He's going to be going hard on Twitter, and he'll give us a show. I hope. After last year's performance, I hope he's due to give us a show. Yeah,
absolutely. And he's we made a rule after him. Excuse me. We'll go through that in a moment. But yeah, the 5 seed VFC Von Flute show plus 4.78 units. So VFC, he came onto the network as our UFC expert and guru. He started the Throwing Bows podcast. It used to be just him, and is now him and Fade JT. He's also on that Not Enough, like More Than Meets the Eye Contrarian View podcast with Jake Hazen. And he's also a panelist in the College Football Central show. And he's very active in college basketball. I mean, he's versed in all kinds of sports. So when he was on the show, he finished 6-3 plus 4.78 units. And I wanted to note something. So to be eligible for this contest, they had to beat either DJ or myself. I remember that day I did really good. VFC beat DJ by 0.01 units to be eligible for the contest. So number 5 overall seed VFC, and his matchup with Josh. DJ, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, VFC is, like you mentioned, he does a lot of sports. He obviously specializes in UFC. He's a UFC guy, but no one's mentioned it yet. He's the hockey king of last year. He was by far one of the best gamblers in hockey in the network. And honestly, probably on like a national level, he was insane last year. Like, the numbers he put up, the amount of units he won, he was Mr. Ice. That's what they called him. So if he can keep that streak going during this contest, dangerous 5 seed here. And like you said, he's well versed in multiple sports, so he does have other options other than hockey. And yeah, I don't see him going down without a fight. He's gonna, you know, he was in it last year. He's got a little bit of experience, second year returning. And he barely made it, kind of like making a half quarter in a conference tournament to qualify, but he got in, and the world is his oyster. I know he's going to take this first matchup probably more seriously than the second round matchup if he wins, because he wants to beat Josh. Everyone wants to beat Josh. So that's, yeah, it's going to be a wild. I can see Twitter going crazy with those two because they're both very active. Very excited to see this matchup.
Yeah, no, this is going to be an insane matchup. And if this brings the same kind of intensity that VFC's with Paces was last year, like, this is going to be all-time Twitter. So be sure to check that out for sure. But I'm very excited. I love VFC. I love Josh. I'm excited for both these guys, and we'll kind of see what happens. They're both, like you said, DJ, they're both in a way they're going to win all the units or they're going to lose all the units. You just don't know with these two, and they're both very versed in a number of different sports. So I'm very excited for this matchup as well. But all right, DJ, let's transition out of the money line region. Let's go to the parlay region, and let's meet our first member of the parlay region, the 3 seed Potato Gobbler plus 6 units. PG was very well liked before he even came on the network. He was on Gambling Feud a few months before he came on the network, but even before Gambling Feud, a lot of the cappers followed him on social media. Just one of the most likable guys I think I've ever met, to to be perfectly honest with you. Biggest thing with him, he is the host of the Not Another College Football podcast at the network with Beast Picks. And he is one of, if not the go-to guy for college football takes, analysis, picks, you name it. Potato Gobbler brings it. And he's a diehard Oklahoma fan, which is good to my delight, which I always appreciate out of him. But when he was on the show, he finished 5-1 plus 6 units. DJ, what are your thoughts about Mr. PG here?
PG, the most famous guy I know, unbelievable guy. He's a great, like, not only does he have a lot of followers and he's a content king, but he's just a great, well-rounded guy. We met him obviously for the Nebraska-Oklahoma game, and just an awesome vibes guy. And then on top of it, like I said, he's content king. He can post pictures of him doing just random stuff, and it's always hilarious. He always got a good caption. And he does a lot of work, in the in-depths of college football. He's got his PG rankings. He's constantly making graphics, and he goes above and beyond. He's going to give a lot of effort. He's not just going to kind of mail this in. He's going to go hard. And obviously he specializes in college football, but he's well-versed. I'm excited. PG at the 3, he's dangerous. Again, I mean, all these guys are dangerous in their own ways, but PG well experienced, and he's just a vet. He wasn't in it last year, but first year I think he could make some noise. We'll see who he's got in his matchup, but I'm excited for this guy as well.
Yep, absolutely, and we'll kind of see what he brings to this contest. I know he's gonna give everything he has here, but. Well, who is he taking on, DJ? He's taking on the 6 seed Dan Angel at plus 3.86 units. When Dan first started blogging, there were 6 of us for a long time, and for the longest time, for about a few months, there was me, DJ, Pace, Beerus, Soup, Pumbaa, and Toast. It was the 6 of us, or the 7 of us, excuse me, but none of us really, outside of Pace, none of us really blogged a whole heck of a lot. But Pace is like, we need a guy who can blog and a guy who can bring that. And that's what Dan brings. Dan is by far and away our most consistent blogger on the website. And not only that, but he is also the co-host of the Gabacho Baracho soccer podcast with Corey and Thomas at the network, talking all things soccer. And he is also a panelist on the College Football Central show. So he's very, very involved. Since he's came to the network, we've been very excited to have him. But on the show, when he was on, he finished 9-5 and plus 3.86 units. So, DJ, what are your thoughts on Dan in this matchup we got here?
Dan, the man, the computer man, he's just, other than maybe Jake, he's the most analytical guy at network. He crunches the numbers. He puts in the extra work. He doesn't just shoot from the hip. He knows teams in and out. Dan, one of the more seasoned guys. He's experienced a lot of games, a lot of matchups. He's seen a lot of things. You can ask him almost any trivia question. He's probably going to get it right. Like, the dude he knows everything. Very, very well-versed in all the sports. I mean, obviously he specializes in soccer with a minor specialty in college football, as he has his computer system with college football. Dan's a dangerous 6 seed, as he just knows it all, and he's really creative. Like, he doesn't just bet basic bets, especially with soccer. He gets super creative. He'll I bet he throws a couple correct score bets out there, and if one hits, he's looking real good. So Dan, very analytical and just consistent as can be, well versed. He's an exciting 6 seed, and maybe not as exciting of a Twitter matchup as Dan might not do much on Twitter, back and forth. He's not really a banter guy. He lets his work do the talking. He lets his bets do the talking. So, but a great matchup nonetheless. PG's got his hands full with this one. I can see an upset here, as Dan has been around the block. He knows his stuff.
Yep. Nope. That's very well said, DJ. I really can't add much more than that, but I'm very excited for this matchup as well, because both these guys bring so much value to the network in their own different way. So we'll kind of see how they do and how they compete. So let's move on to the last 2 people in the Kota Cappers bracket. What everybody was expecting, I think, the 2 seed Fade JT, who finished plus 10.76 units. Another very close friend of DJ's from college. He first came on Gambling Feud with Alex Long, another one of DJ's friends, for a UFC preview show. We had those guys on. We had them both as guest pickers, so that's how we kind of got into the show. He's a co-host on the On Life Support High and Inside podcast at the network, but he's also, his big thing is the Throwing Bows podcast. He's on that with BFC. Excuse me. And he's also a panelist on the College Football Central show. So he's very, very involved with the network. I think everybody's expecting him to be a 2 seed, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't think this comes as a surprise to anybody. But on the show, he finished 5-2 plus 10.76 units. DJ, what are your thoughts about 2 seed Fade JT?
He is the most wild of wild cards because he can be the best at times. He can be the worst at times. He's really all over the map, but he knows a lot of sports. He watches a lot of sports. Like, he knows the UFC. He knows the NFL. He, dabbles in college football. Not as much college basketball or NBA. Really, really probably specializes in more NFL and the UFC, but he's just a wild card, man. He doesn't even know what he's gonna expect. Like, his name is Fade JT for a reason. Sometimes you gotta fade him, sometimes you don't. And hopefully his health gets a little better. He's had some issues with his what is it? Not pancreas. What do I want to say? Appendix, close to pancreas. So hopefully he gets better there and mentally prepared to take on the role of the 2 seed. But he's just an exciting guy. Probably one of the best Twitter followers, not for bets, but for just content. Yep. He's just so funny with the tweets. He's good on the Twitter. So I'm expecting him to be, especially if he wins and goes up against PG, or if he ends up facing Josh. Like, I expect Twitter to be explosive for him. So very exciting guy. If he gets hot, the world's his oyster.
And I think you said it best, DJ, with Fade JT. Outside of gambling for just a second, he has at least one banger tweet a week. Minimum.
And he stretches the line of, like, should I even tweet this? Like, should this be something that should be tweeted, or will I get canceled? And he stretches that line, but they're always so funny. And I don't know, his brain works in such an amazing way. And I'm always geeking at his tweets. And sometimes his tweet will get like 3 likes. I'm like, dude, that was your best tweet of all time. And then another, like, just mid tweet will get like, a bunch of likes. And I'm just like, yeah, it was funny, but you've had way better ones that get no love. So that's how Twitter is. But he's just always producing banger tweets.
No, he is by far and away a top 5 Twitter follow.
Yep, for sure.
But DJ, he's going to have to bring it. I think you and I agree, and everyone on the network will agree, that this last guy to round out the contest, we got the 7 seed DG Betts at plus 3.10 units. He is a dangerous 7 seed. So really quick, for those of you that don't know, he's been with the network for about a year now. DG has. He's the host of the Securing the Bag podcast. However, what he's known for the network is his parlays, and he's gotten the nickname the Parlay King because he just has a massive success rate at hitting really, really like high value parlays, and he's very, very good at it. In fact, he was the winner of our Elite 8 contest last year. So him coming in as a 7 seed is a shock and very dangerous. And in fact, in the very final round, he hit a plus 3,200 parlay to win the contest. So he's a good better all around, but his parlays, if he hits parlays, JT's going to have to bring it, I think. But on the show, see here, DG finished 4-4 plus 3.10 units. So DJ, overall thoughts about DG and just this matchup between him and Fade JT?
This is a terrible matchup for JT. The worst person he could get matched up with. DG Betts is the defending champ and the parlay king. I mean, I would rather face anybody else in this bracket besides DG. DG had a 7 seed. If you had odds, I would take him. If it was just based on their seed, I would bet all my money on DG. He is so underrated, and his ability to just throw a parlay together and it just hits, man. He just doesn't. I can't explain how DG does what he does. He's just a wizard. I've accepted that he's just amazing at parlays and just betting in general. He knows his stuff. He's been around the block. He has seen a lot of games. And him at the 7 seed, just a rough first round matchup for Fade JT. And JT's going to have to bring it because DG's not going down without a fight. He's going to hit at least a parlay or 2 in the first round. And once DG gets going, good luck. You could be winning the entire matchup, and all he has to do is hit that Sunday because he's an anytime touchdown Sunday specialist. and he hits a couple of those, boom, you're done. You're done. So yeah, tough matchup, very underrated DG bets.
Yeah, he's going to be a sneaky 7 seed. And that doesn't mean JT's not going to bring it. I guarantee you he does. But I'm just saying he's going to have to because, like you said, DJ, he's the defending champ. I think he won all his contests last year by a pretty large margin. So him coming in as a 7 seed, very, very dangerous. But really quick, just looking at all eight of these guys, DJ. The thing with this group, I can see all the lower seeds moving on, and I can see all the top seeds moving on. Like I can't even give a prediction if I wanted to because all 8 of these guys could go off at any time and have gone off. But just right now, all 8 of these guys can go off at any time.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to like March Madness or like the MLB postseason. It's whoever gets hot. You know, the one year we saw both the Royals and the Giants be the wild card team. So they were the lowest seed of anybody, the worst team in the bracket. And they both went on to get to the World Series. Like, it's all about when you get hot. You know, if you peak at the wrong time, you're done. So if any of these guys get hot, it's going to be tough to stop them once they get rolling. Like you said, all these matchups are, you know, interesting and intricate in their own little ways. It's tough to say who emerges. I think there's some fun matchups. I think, you know, if specific teams win, that'll create another fun second round matchup or a Final Four. If you get 2 people paired up against each other who are super active on Twitter, or 2 guys, like if Dan and DG face, you're going to have, you know, 2 analytical guys that just hit bets. I don't know what to expect. I know it'll be super exciting, and I'm hoping that the trash talk will be fun and keep everybody going. Tough. Again, if I were to put my money on someone, you know who I'm betting on. It's DG Bets, obviously, because he's the defending champ. You can't take that away from him. So I will take him all day long. But anybody can win. You know, DG could get bounced in the first round. That's how this works. It's just you got to get hot in gambling, and you got to get hot at the right time.
Absolutely. I think you said all that very, very well. But yeah, all 8 of these guys, congratulations to you guys. It's been great having you on the show, and we're excited to see how you do in the contest here. So we're looking forward to that, and we'll really see who emerges out of this group. Like I said, it could be any of these 8 guys. So we will just have to see. But all right, well, let's transition now from the Kota Capper side to the non-Kota Capper side. So these are 8 people who are obviously not Kota Cappers that will be competing as well in this. So we will see how we do. Let's start in the over-under region with the number 1 overall seed. Again, I think what everybody was expecting, Zach Spieler, plus 13.41 units. So Zach is a cousin of me and DJ, obviously on my dad's side, DJ's mom's side. Something to know about him. He's a former Division II athlete. He played men's volleyball at Wayne State College in Nebraska. And he's played some Division I opponents there. So that's something he can flex on me and DJ both, as he played Division II sports. He's appeared on the show twice. The first time it didn't go well. He didn't beat either me or DJ, so he's actually ineligible. DJ brought him on as a wild card, and he finished 5-0-1 plus 13.41 units. He went undefeated pretty much. So very, very impressive. So number 1 overall seed, Zach Spieler. DJ, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, he had a play-in game, you know, a wild card game, and he got it done. He took care of business. Maybe not the most experienced guy with the gambling world. Maybe not, you know, more. He might not play any fancy plays like some of the other guys on the Kota Capper side, but he's approaching it from kind of a new angle, just kind of looking at the numbers, looking at what he sees, using his logic, and he lit it up. He could get things done. It's interesting to see, you know, based on who he's matched up with, how things go. But why not? I mean, he lit it up. He kind of does everything, really. He knows a little, like he watches enough sports to know enough about everything. And I'm excited. You know, it's kind of like a big test. This is like a freshman coming in as a star. You know, can the freshman lead his team like Carmelo Anthony to a championship or not? We'll see. We'll see what Zach can get done. But I'm excited and hoping, you know, rooting for him, obviously, as we're related to him, hoping he does the best.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you said it well, DJ, and the fact that, you know, he's not like an experienced gambler, right? But that's kind of what I think all 8 of these people gamble on occasion, but not nearly as much as the Kota Cappers, which is why I like this concept that we're doing here. But Zach kind of approaches it like most people do, like trends or line movement and stuff like that. He does just strictly what he knows. And sometimes that's the best thing. And clearly, as you can see on where he's at right now, he proven that can work sometimes. So it's a totally different angle, whereas some people come at it from like a statistic point of view. It's just what he knows.
Yep. Yeah. It keeps it simple. Keeps it simple, which is sometimes way better than trying to get super fancy and almost losing yourself a bet by getting too complex.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, who is he going up against? Well, DJ, you're going to have a cousin in the Elite Eight no matter what, because he's going up against 8 seed Lucas Parker, minus 2.31 units. So Lucas is a cousin of DJ on DJ's dad's side. Obviously, like my dad and his mom are sisters, so I'm not related to anybody on his dad's side. But he's a cousin of DJ on his dad's side. If you listen to the Gambling Food podcast, which you all do, he does our intro song. I think we told him when we started this podcast in January of last year, we just said, hey, we need an intro song. Can you give us something? He gave us that fire intro song that we've used for every single show. So you've all heard his voice. You all know who he is. He's the writer. He was the singer. He's the producer. And he also has an album out on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. His name is Luke 7, and it is an album called Virtues. We usually try to say it every episode. We've been very bad at forgetting that. But nonetheless, wanted to give that plug again. His name is Luke 7, and his podcast and his album is called Virtues. But on the show, he finished 4-3, minus 2.31 units. So, DJ, what do we think of Lucas in this matchup with Zach?
Lucas, kind of similar to Zach. He's not, super experienced, but he has probably seen more games, more lines. He's been betting longer than Zach, so he does have a little bit of a veteran edge, but they're both approaching it from that simplistic kind of standpoint. They're not going to get too fancy. They're not going to get crazy with some, first half bets or first quarter bets or something crazy like that. They're going to keep it simple. They're going to bet on what they know. And, Lucas watches a lot of football, both college and NFL. He knows the NBA. He knows a lot of the players, a lot of the teams. NHL, not really. UFC, not really. He's really going to be kind of an NFL and college football guy, but he can get hot just like everybody. I've seen him get on some crazy good streaks. Anything's possible. This first match was very intriguing because out of all these people on our list, I'd say these two probably have the least experience. So it's gonna be a slugfest, and yeah, I'm related to both of them, so I hope they both do well, and we'll see who gets hot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think either one of these two could win and stuff like that. Obviously, Zach's proven that he can do it, and that's why he's the number 1 seed. But Lucas could get hot too, so this will be a very intriguing match. But I'm curious to see how this one goes. Let's transition now to the 4 seed, Tyler Paulson, plus 5.60 units. So Tyler was actually the number 1 seed in the Elite Eight contest last year. I think he finished plus 17 something units. I mean, he lit it up last year. He's plus 5.60 units. For those of you that don't know, he's a lifelong friend of mine. I went to elementary school with him, middle school, high school. We both went to college together and graduated together. But he's a household name in Lamar's. He took our team to he and a bunch of other people, I shouldn't say that, but he was one of the main guys, helped lead our state basketball team to a state runner-up. We haven't made it to a state championship since 1940. So it was very, very impressive. So he's a household name. If you go to Lamar's, you'll know this guy. You'll recognize him. He actually introduced me to gambling a little bit in college as well. So I can thank him for that, which is why I want to get him on the show. But on the show, he finished 3-2 and plus 5.60 units. So DJ, what are your thoughts on Tyler?
Tyler's a vibes guy, man. We had him on. There was a lot of laughs. There's a lot of good vibes. And he bets a lot, man. Like, he knows his sports. He knows he's one of the more well-experienced guys on this list of non-Kota cappers. Last year, what happened to him? First seed, he just got cold. He went cold at the start of the first round, and things didn't go well for him. If he gets hot, we're talking a whole different story. Maybe he's the defending champ instead of getting bounced in the first. But he has the experience. He's, grown another year. He's learned more. I mean, I feel like every year you gamble, you learn more. You learn what not to do, what to do. Maybe pick up on some trends. Maybe pick up on some stats or something. You just learn. So he's a dangerous 4 seed because, like I said, I think he's the most experienced guy on this list. And I can see him making a run at it and, upsetting some people. I think he has a lot of potential. I think the sky's the limit with this guy. He could go cold like he did last year, but I don't think that happens. He's He's well-rounded, and like he lit it up when he came on. I'm excited, and like I said, just a great vibes guy.
Oh, that's the best way to put him. He's that whole time we were doing the podcast with him, you couldn't see it obviously, but he was just smiling from ear to ear. He just was just having a great time. And I'm excited to see what he does. Like you said, DJ, he went cold. He got out of the first round because the person he faced, Tyler DeVos, finished, I kid you not, minus 100 units. So that's how he got out of the first round. But then he played Soup and ended up losing in the final four. But nonetheless, he's here again. We're excited to see how he does. He will be taking on the 5 seed, Alex Long, plus 5 units. So Alex is another really good friend of DJ's from you and I. He got introduced to the network the same time as JT. He was on Gambling Feud with JT for a UFC preview show. So we had him on for that. He's a recurring guest on Gambling Feud. I think he knows that anytime he wants to come on Gambling Feud, he's always welcome. I think he knows that. He's also a co-host on the High and Inside podcast of the network, but that's his only involvement with us. So some people are going to say, "Oh, he's a Kota capper." He's not. He'll be the first to admit it. He just does the High and Inside podcast. He just comes on Gambling Feud. He doesn't do the capping that these guys do. I'm sure he gambles a lot, but he doesn't do the capping that these guys do. He doesn't do the content these guys do. He's just strictly like a gambler and a close friend to all of us. So that's why he's on the non-Kota capper side. I wanted to note that. But on the show, he finished 5-3 and plus 5 units. So, DJ, what are your thoughts on A Long and this matchup with Paulson?
Other than Paulson, A Long is right up there in experience. Me and him started gambling freshman year of college. The amount of times we watched a game in his dorm room, his and JT's dorm room, and we were betting the over, whatever it was, all the time. So we watched a ton of games. We watched the historic the meltdown of Atlanta, the Atlanta Falcons versus the Patriots when they blew that 28-3 game, and we were all riding on the Patriots. So we all had an amazing dub together. It was a heck of experience. But yeah, very, very well versed. And he specializes in a lot of things. He knows the MLB, he knows UFC, he knows the NFL, and he knows the NBA. Probably his weakness is NHL, but I don't think he'll do many NHL bets. But other than that, he knows a lot of the sports. He's very well versed. He watches a lot of sports. He talks a lot of sports. He's been watching sports ever since he was little. He's got a ton of experience of just watching the game, and then he's got 4, 5, 6 years of gambling experience. So this is a great matchup, I think. If you switch Zach or Lucas, I think it's kind of unfair because you have an unexperienced guy versus an experienced guy. But in this situation, we have 2 well-experienced guys, and A-Long was in it last year. He knows what it takes to win. He got souped, as I call it, where Soup just didn't bet any units. He was very frustrated by it. He thought it'd be a fun contest, and then Soup did, not bet many units. So A-Long's out for revenge, and A-Long on revenge is a dangerous guy. So I think this first round will be his toughest test, but if he can get past this, both him and Paulson, whoever comes out of this matchup is dangerous on the non-Kota capper side due to their high experience and their versatility, all the sports they gamble.
Yeah, absolutely. This 4-5 matchup is going to be dangerous. And no disrespect to Zach and Lucas when we say that either, but these two definitely, and I'm looking through the rest of the list. Yeah, I'd say these two are probably the most experienced guys on this side of the bracket, and they're facing off against each other first round. So we'll see how they do. But yeah, this over-under region's interesting. I'll say that. You got 2 kind of people who are unexperienced but knowledgeable versus 2 people that are pretty experienced and knowledgeable. So we'll see kind of who wins this over-under region, but it's very, very intriguing.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, gambling is just something you have to learn over time. Things I was doing 5 years ago when I first started, I would think is ridiculous now. Like, why would I ever bet that? You just learn things year in, year out. The more you go through bad beats or just reading lines or just, what's going on, you learn a lot. So these guys have that experience. Not to say that Zach or Lucas are done as soon as they get past the first round, because they could easily win. Anyone can get hot. It's literally anyone's game. But I think experience is huge, and just you can't learn it overnight. You have to go through years. You have to go through a multitude of bets, which these 2 have. So I mean, just a great matchup, and it just kind of ended up being that way. But I'm very intrigued by this, and I'm excited to see who emerges. I mean, this is going to be a tough matchup for both guys.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. And Alex did way better than our dear friend Willie Naylor did. Way, way better.
Yeah, Willie could get some pointers from Alex. Because pointers from Alex, pointers from JT, pointers from Fuxai, pointers from Josh Campbell, who Willie Naylor's close with all of those guys. So maybe he should have reached out to them instead of bombing. But nonetheless, Alex Long will try to right the wrong of Soup. He's still upset about the whole Soup thing from last year. You know, he kind of got screwed on that. So he's coming with some vengeance. And I think Tyler got Soups too. They both got Soups. So
they both got Soup. And actually, Soup made it to the championship. And even if DG didn't hit that massive parlay, Soup still didn't bet enough units in that championship game. So DG was going to win no matter what. He just hit that plus 3,200 parlay for the heck of it. But going off of what you said earlier, Deej, I think you, Faye JT, Fuxai, Willie Naylor, Soup, and Alex, that's a hell of a crew right there. That's like a storybook right there.
It's a dangerous crew. There's a lot of laughs and just a lot of fun. The vibes have never really been bad with that crew. They're just always like goofing around, telling stories, making jokes, and having fun. And most importantly, hitting bets. That's what we do. I mean, when we first started gambling, we went like 22-5, or maybe it was like, I don't know, 22-3 betting college basketball overs. We just first started and we just lit it up because we started during college basketball. And we thought we were, all of us thought we were the kings. And, gambling humbles you a little bit, but we've learned a lot along the way. And, all three of the main guys are here in this contest.
Yeah. Yep. And that's very exciting too. So, all right, let's round out our bracket with the ATS region. Let's start off with the 3 seed, Eric Luch, plus 6.9 units. So Eric is another one of DJ's cousins on the Luch side. And I'd say he is, and maybe you can disagree with me on this, DJ, but he's the face of Luch Farms at the moment, I would say. And, he has a love for sports, and it was quickly noticed by DJ. And those two have a group chat with, I think, a bunch of other Luch relatives as well, just talking games and stuff like that. So it was very well noticed. So he came on the show early last year, and he came on the show again this year. He had a very tough card, I remember, a very, very tough card, and finished 4-1 plus 6.90 units. But he very well could have gone 5-0. I remember that. But 3 seed Eric Luch, Deej, what do you got for him?
Yeah, he's a sports guy. He's watched a lot of sports. He's got connections. His brother Alex is kind of a baseball guy. His brother Joe is a NHL guy. And then they all kind of talk about football and basketball. So he's got a lot of resources at his hand to kind of ideas off of. And like I said, he's seen a lot of games. He's lived a more experienced life. He's probably one of the more older people on this non-Kota Kappa side. So he's seen more games than everybody. And as a 3 seed, I think it fits well. He's got a lot of experience. He knows what it's been like to go through cold streaks. He's been hot. He's gone through it all, and he should be very composed. And I see him doing pretty well. He knows his stuff, and I'm excited to see how the face of Luch Farms does, and maybe gets that bread and gets another tractor.
Yeah, maybe so.
Buy some hogs.
Hopefully this is a tractor that Alex doesn't break a window off.
Yeah, exactly.
But well, who is Eric facing off against? He's facing off against the 6 seed Evan Mulville, minus 0.37 units. So Evan is a good friend to several individuals at the network. I consider him a very good friend as well, and just another really, really good vibes guy. I mean, this is another just like classic, I'm going to make you laugh, I'm going to just bring the good vibes guy. That's what he is. He made his appearance on Gambling Feud last year. Actually, last year, he had the worst showing of any guest we had last year. But he came back, he bounced back, and, he's well known as the MN sneaker guy. He's a big shoetie. He collects a bunch of different shoes, and basically any shoe you can think of, I'm sure he's had at some point. But he came on the show this year, finished 6-4, minus 0.37 units. I think the only reason he wasn't positive was one of his plays is a 5-unit play that didn't hit. But I think otherwise he would have finished positive. But 6 seed Evan Mulville going up against 3 seed Eric Luch, DJ. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Evan's not a massive gambler, but he pays attention to the lines. He's a Minnesota guy, so he definitely pays attention to his home teams. goes to a lot of games up in Minnesota, and he's well versed. He knows the major sports. You know, he knows the NBA, he knows the NHL, and he knows the NFL. I don't know how much he knows about college sports, but of the major sports, he knows a decent amount. And he, because he follows the Wild, he follows the Timberwolves, he follows the Vikings. So you just, when you're following, you just know the league in general. So he knows a lot. I'm excited to see what he can do. You know, we haven't seen him gamble too much. He doesn't really tweet plays or anything like that, but he knows lines. He obviously watches sports and stuff. So it's exciting to see him. Great veteran matchup here between these two guys, as these are probably two of the older guys out of these group of people. So, this is veteranness, maybe not gambling experience, but definitely veteranness and just watching games. I'm excited to see, who emerges out of this matchup. It's a great matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think looking back, I don't think either of these two last year did very good. So this is a vengeance game matchup for both of these two. So I'm very, very excited for this, because a lot of these guys, they've been on the show and they did fairly decent stuff like that. I think Eric finished pretty minus quite a few units last year too. So these two are out for vengeance. So I'm very excited for this matchup.
Yep, yeah, they're out to prove they belong and that they want the prize. Everyone wants the prize. Who doesn't want a prize? So, Evan might get some new shoes and Eric might buy some hogs. They both have different prerogatives for why they're trying to get the money, but they're both going to try and get it done.
They're both going to try to get the money. That's exactly
right. Secure the bag.
All right, DJ. Well, to round out our bracket, we got the 2 seed at Cheapy 13 plus 9.17 units. Cheapy 13 is a very well-known Twitter personality. I think out of everybody on this list, he might have the most followers out of everybody. Like I said, he's very known in the Cheapy community, obviously. He's very active on Twitter. I think he's consistently getting hundreds of likes on Twitter, and he's getting follows from very, very well-known guys. But he's also he gambles every now and then too. He's a Minnesota fan, Minnesota Vikings, Twins. I think he said he's a Timberwolves fan as well. He came on the show, he lit it up. He was one of our very first guests this year. He finished 5-2 plus 9.17 units. And I think actually one of the bets he lost was a 5-unit bet. He could have finished plus 17 units. So he had an absolute day. But DJ, what are your thoughts about Cheapy 13?
Yeah, I don't know much about his gambling history. I don't know him that well. He does produce some banger tweets. He's very good at memeing and other things. He's just good at Twitter, if that makes sense. He has a lot of hilarious tweets. Like I said, I don't know his gambling, but obviously he lit it up with us, so he must know a thing or two. I'm excited to see, how good is he? It's like one of those ones where you don't really know much about a mid-American team, but maybe they can light it up. You just don't know. And he could easily be that. I'm excited to see kind of how he, what plays, how creative he gets. Does he go super conservative? Is he super aggressive? What does he do? It's kind of a question mark for me. I just don't know enough about him, but I'm also very excited to see him, and just obviously he's a massive Twitter presence, and it'd be interesting to see if he can get the troops rallying behind him and winning some bets and getting that momentum and just taking it to the finals.
Yeah, absolutely. And he knows quite a few people at the network too. He's been in fact, when PG had that, what's his name? Like that Jack Murray that was coming at him for being a gambler. I mean, Cheapy 13 was just backing up PG left and right by producing memes, making fun of Jack Murray and stuff like that. And he even said on the show, like, nobody can come at PG without taking some hits and stuff like that. So he produces bangers of tweets, but he's also knows quite a few people at the network too, which is why I'm very excited to have him in the contest.
Yep, I'm sure he'll have some electric memes on Twitter.
Yep,
as well for the contest, hopefully.
Yep, absolutely. Get them ready, Cheapy 13. We're looking forward to it. But to round out the contest, who is Cheapy 13 playing? The 7 seed Gracie Marks, who finished minus 1.72 units. So I followed Gracie because I wanted to follow more like-minded cappers that aren't at the network, and she was one of the first people I followed. She produces a lot of content on Twitter. Her biggest platform, I would say, is Instagram. So Mark's takes on Twitter or on Instagram, that's her probably biggest platform. She's from the West Coast. I remember we had to start the show an hour early so she could get some stuff done after the podcast is over. But yeah, she's on the West Coast. She's a big time stoolie. She actually got to meet and take a picture with Dave Portnoy, the president of Barstool Sports, which I still am incredibly jealous of. But yeah, she knows all kinds of sports, and she's very, very good with analysis, producing content. She's one of the more consistent content producers. I think I'm not going to count the Kota Cappers on this side of the bracket. I'd say she's probably one of the more consistent content producers, which I'm very, very excited to see what she has to bring to the contest. But on the show, she finished 2-3, minus 1.72 units. So, DJ, what are your thoughts about Gracie and her matchup with Cheapy 13?
Yeah, similar to Cheapy 13. I don't know much about her, obviously, because she's someone we don't know too well, more of a Twitter mutual. But she seemed, when she was on the podcast, like she knew what she was talking about. She was very educated. She was using words where I'm like, okay, yeah, like, you know, you just got to get a feel for some people you don't know. And I just could tell that she was very well versed in both sports, but also the gambling side of it. And she does great gambling content and just great content in general. Yeah, I'm very excited for this matchup because it's, to me, it's a giant question mark. Like, I just don't know either Chibi 13 or Gracie that well, but they earned a spot here and they could make some fireworks and I could be like, all right, like these guys are really, really good. It'll be it's a matchup I just don't know what I'm gonna get, but I'm very excited for that matchup because it's just two giant Twitter personalities, giant, social media personalities that seem to know what they're doing, and I'm just excited to kind of see how the dust settles and who comes out on top.
Absolutely, and I'd have to look up Jake Hazen's Twitter account, but these two have the biggest Twitter followers, I believe, out of all 16 of these people in the contest. Excuse me, words are hard, but yeah, these two are. It's going to be fun. I'm excited to see what these two bring to the contest, but just overall on the non-Kota Capper side, before we look at everything in a moment here, the Kota Capper side, they're all very good gamblers. I'm not saying the non-Kota Cappers aren't, but that's just how we knew like none of these or all 8 people in the Kota Capper side could go on because they're all very, very good and have shown that. This side, I'd say they're all very good, but the reason that anybody can move on is all these matchups, you got people who are very, very similar in a way. You got Zach and Lucas are a little more inexperienced and look at it from a different way than people. Tyler and Alex are both very experienced, so we'll see who wins that. Eric and Evan, not so much experienced gambling, but experienced in sports. So we'll see what happens there. And Cheapy 13 and Gracie, both very experienced gamblers, but both with big social media personalities. So on the Kota Capper side, you got 8 really, really good gamblers. On the non-Kota Capper side, you have pretty decent gamblers, but very, very similar in their matchups.
Yeah, it's, the Kota Capper side is a giant question mark, but it's a question mark as in who's going to get hot. Because I know any of these guys can, and I know all of them might get, all of them could light it up. They're all, like you said, well experienced. On the other side, it's a giant question mark. Is just like, I just don't know enough about these guys, with their experience, with their gambling. It's really a contest for any of them. Any of them could win, and I would say the non-Kota Capper side is interesting in the fact of like it's up for grabs, and I'm very excited to see who shows up. How hot do they get? What are they even betting? Are they just doing money lines? Are they getting creative? What's going to happen? And it'll be very entertaining. And then on the Kota Capper side, obviously, you just got a lot of seasoned gamblers who are going to try and put on a show, and there'll be more personal, I guess, on the Kota Capper side is obviously everyone kind of knows each other. And so there might be a little more trash talk, whereas on the non-Kota Capper side, there might not be as much trash talk. It's not fun to trash talk someone you don't know because it's just like kind of weird. But I'm excited to see what we get. And it's such a cool idea that we came up with here, Kyle, of doing this. I don't know anybody else who does this contest, but just looking at this bracket now, you got 16 people. And they're all just going to gamble, which we all love. We all love sports gambling here. And on top of that, they're going to gamble and they have a chance of winning a prize. And it's March Madness style. Like, who doesn't love filling out a March Madness bracket? So the whole setup is so cool how we do it. Yeah, I'm just super excited, man. Watching this bracket reveal has just got me all hyped up. Like, who's going to win? Is there going to be a massive upset? Is someone going to barely squeak out a win with a last second play? Anything's possible with this. And there's just so many different people that strategies and all this, everything takes into consideration. And I honestly couldn't tell you who's going to win. I just know it is going to be a hell of a ride.